Check this out. Ambulance on the side of the Pennsylvania Turnpike. That's right. Ambulance on the side of the Pennsylvania Turnpike. Someone's having a medical emergency. What's going on, everyone? Data report here. Just thought we would do a little talk. Pandemic is clearly not over. You just saw ambulance on the side of the turnpike because someone had a sudden medical emergency. Now, we don't know what it is. Maybe they passed out. Maybe they felt like they were having a stroke or a heart attack. Who knows? Lift this up so you can see me. But we live another day together. It is, what is today? It's the middle of June now. Summertime. You know, there shouldn't be much illness going around in summertime. Well, summer hasn't officially started yet. The unofficial start was back on Memorial Day weekend. But we're into the warmer months now. People shouldn't have colds. People shouldn't be sick. Allergies, that's normal for this time of year, but it's starting to go up again. The numbers are starting to go up again. We're seeing wastewater. In some areas starting to go up. It's very mixed. Some places are not rising yet. Some places are rising. Florida is definitely rising. You saw the wastewater earlier this week. And I thought in this video we would just, have a little discussion. Just a regular discussion about just where do we stand right now. The pandemic emergency is over with. It's very hard to get tested. I see people coughing and sneezing at places. I always wear a mask wherever I go. Obviously, I'm in the car right now. I do not need a mask at the moment. But if someone else was in the car, a stranger or something, of course, I would have a mask on. But I don't see very many people masking anymore. That's concerning. And back to the point about testing. So tests are very hard to get right now. The majority of people, insurance is not going to cover for you to get a PCR test. You have to use the antigen test. Now, as you may see here, I am traveling. I've got mask with me. I've got gloves with me, but that's for a different reason. But I still do use gloves from time to time to get gas. I'll be honest with you, I do. I do use gloves. If I see a pump that I think, man, that looks disgusting looking, I'm sticking the gloves on. If someone looks at me funny, so be it. I got a rapid test with me because you never know. You just never know when you may need to take a rapid test. It's always good to have on hand if you're traveling. And, if you are going to be traveling, take a look. I believe it was about a month ago. It was right before Memorial Day weekend. We did a video on some tips for what to do when you are traveling. But anyhow, back to the pandemic, folks. The pandemic is still going on. It has not ended. Even though the government and health departments have declared that the emergency is over, and that's fine, they'll do what they're going to do. You have to take it upon yourself, and I've taken upon myself to, still practice pandemic safety. So before I left, I checked the wastewater. And there's 2 wastewater sites where I'm going to Center County in Pennsylvania. The big one, thankfully, right now is dropping. There's a smaller one, slightly starting to rise. So that means I'll practice pandemic safety if I have to go anywhere. And that means, yes, I'm going to mask in the middle of Pennsylvania. I don't care what people think. I'm going to the land of no masking. If I see anyone masking, I'll be shocked. Maybe over in State College, Pennsylvania, I will see some people wearing a mask. I hope to. We'll just have to wait and see. But outside of that, rural Pennsylvania, the smaller towns surrounding there, I don't expect to see a single mask. And if people stare at me, guess what? CDC did technically say, you do you. Well, I'm going to do me, and I'm going to continue masking. And you should do you as well and continue masking, because guess what? A summer surge is coming. I don't know which variant it's going to be, but there is going to be a surge. It's probably going to be a hidden surge. We likely won't see much of it. More people are going to test positive. More are going to be hospitalized. More people are going to go to the ER saying, man, I'm not feeling well. I don't understand what's going on. And you know what they're going to end up seeing? They're going to go to the hospital, and in many cases, the hospital probably won't test them for COVID. It's happening. I think at least some places, if they're being admitted, they're being tested for COVID. But I've heard stories from a couple of friends that have had to go to the hospital, and yes, the hospital did not bother to test them for COVID, despite all the symptoms that they were having, which some of them were very similar to COVID. So we're not probably going to see the true number of hospitalizations. We are definitely not going to see the true number of cases. And we're going to have to rely on wastewater. And we're going to have to rely on all the data combined, because like I've been saying for the past several days, I've said it in several videos now, we have entered a time of mixed signals. We have entered a time of where we're going to see a silent wave. Last year, BA.5, there was a surge. It started in spring, and numbers were elevated throughout most of the year. This year, we didn't see a spring wave. In the data, there was no spring wave. You know why? Because the data is more hidden. The CDC last year admitted that we likely missed a ton of cases last year in the data. We likely missed a ton of cases. And, you know, we probably missed some hospitalizations in the data as well. Deaths, not all of them are getting classified as COVID, whether they're COVID or not. If it's something else, maybe, but we have seen the excess death numbers remain elevated in the United States. So yes, this pandemic is still with us, despite that we're not in an emergency anymore. Will it ever get to the point in time where we won't have to call it a pandemic anymore? I honestly can't answer that question. I don't know if we will ever get to that point. I want to hope to one day we'll get to the point where it's safe to go everywhere. You don't have to worry about, oh, did I pack the COVID test? Oh, do I have enough masks for everyone? I hope we can someday get back to that point, but I don't think so. I think for those who choose to continue masking, and I really thank you for doing that, for those who choose to continue masking, I think you're going to be doing that for a very long time to come. And you may just continue to do that for forever. Because remember, there's other stuff out there. There's H5N1. God forbid that should ever cross over and become human-to-human transmission. I hope we don't see that day. That's my biggest fear, because there's been so few cases of it in humans. At the moment, the death rate from a human-to-human or a human case, it's fairly high. And it's relatively scary. But yeah, another thing that's a problem, long COVID. Long COVID still exists. If you follow my Twitter account, you know this morning I wasn't feeling myself. It's just, yesterday I felt absolutely fantastic. I mean, honestly, I would go on the wire to say yesterday was the best I felt in 2 years. I felt great. Day before, fairly similar. And for those who don't know, I had COVID back in 2020. Never had a test for it. This was before testing existed. Had all the symptoms, lost the sense of taste or smell. And for the most part, everything went away except for coughing. Then it came back again in that later that year. You know, late spring, early summer, I just felt bad. I had a whole array of symptoms that were just plaguing me and bothering me day after day. And then some days it would go away, some days it would come back, and it was really on and off for even into 2021. It got less frequent. 2022, wintertime seems to be the worst time for me, and it would come back at wintertime. Yesterday, it's the first time I could say, man, I felt great. I'm diagnosed with asthma. That's because of COVID. And as we, again, even yesterday, it felt like none of that was bothering me. Then this morning, the asthma was bothering me as I woke up. I was all congested, just, out of breath when I woke up. Eventually, finally, around 11 a.m., it started to go away. I'm better now, but I still do have somewhat of a headache. If need be, later in the day, just to be safe, maybe I will pop a COVID test. I'm assuming it will be negative, and that's the other thing. That's the other reason why COVID tests should still be free. That's something else I want to bring up. For people who have long COVID, you have so many COVID scares, it's not even funny. Some days you get you just feel so lousy, you feel, I'm going to COVID test. Could this be COVID? And trust me, if you have long COVID, you will eat through many COVID tests. Probably just this year so far, I've probably taken COVID tests maybe close to 20 times. Yeah, maybe 20, thinking, oh shoot, is this COVID or is this just my long COVID? That's what happens. And you know what? After a while, that can get costly. And now that COVID tests are not free, that we have to pay for them out of pocket, it's just ridiculous. And in some cases, you're going to have whole entire families that get long COVID. Maybe they're not going to know it. Maybe they're not going to think to test for COVID. And they'll say, well, I never had COVID. Yeah, did you actually test? And now you're having health problems. Yeah, you may have had COVID and did not know it. This is happening for so many people. And it's really scary to think what's going to go on. If we don't take care of each other, if we don't take care of ourselves, it gets really concerning for what's going to happen with the future. Like, for example, we just witnessed, I started this video. I was going to do this video, but then as I was driving along, I saw the ambulance alongside the road assisting someone. I said, I got to record. I got to showcase this. I mean, you'll see it from time to time. Fine. But for those who don't know, I'm a delivery driver. That's one of the things that I work for the gig apps. I did it before the pandemic. I used to drive people around. I just have a few private clients that I do now. I do not do like Uber X or Lyft. Don't do that anymore. Deliveries, yes, but not people. I'm not going to pick up random people, have them sit in the back where there is potentially poor air quality, even if I put the windows down a little bit. You know, that's no guarantee. I'm just not going to pick up random people that won't bother to test, would probably argue with me about masking. So, I mean, no, it's just not worth it to me anymore. But the point I'm making here is the one thing I do see a lot of now is ambulances. And people say, oh, well, it's normal to see ambulances. No. I've been driving on the road for a very long time. I started doing gig apps back in 2016. Trust me, before the pandemic, I was not constantly pulling over for ambulances. Would I see an ambulance from time to time? Sure. Maybe one or two in a day. To have a day, and this has happened, I can't tell you how many times this has happened. I'll have days where I see double-digit ambulances if I'm out on the road long enough. And there were days when I'd be out, 10 hours delivering. I would start like mid-morning, go through dinner time, and then continue on. And I kid you not, it would rack up to double-digit ambulances I would see heading to the hospitals. It's just like, come on, another ambulance? That, my friends, is not normal. And I've been out a few times lately. I was out the other morning. I think I saw 6 ambulances within a 3-hour period. Again, folks, that's still not normal. Shouldn't be happening. Seeing an ambulance on the side of the Pennsylvania Turnpike assisting someone. In rare cases, it can happen, but that's something you're going to be seeing much more frequently. So, yep, that's all I wanted to talk about. I just wanted to, share some words of wisdom. Be kind to each other. Take care of one another. If you have elderly people you have to take care of, please take care of them. Take care of your parents. If you see them acting in risky behavior, tell them, hey, I don't know if it's such a good idea that you should be doing such and such activity. COVID's still out there. It can affect your brain. I know about Alzheimer's quite a bit. I was a caregiver for 4 years for my grandmother back in, I believe it started 2011 through the end of 2014, was it? Yeah. I know what it's like to deal with someone who has dementia and Alzheimer's. And COVID can cause that. And not just older people, not just middle-aged people. We've seen a few news stories of younger people getting it now. It's very scary to see, and I know what it's like. For those who have to care for someone with Alzheimer's and dementia, It's quite scary. It's very frustrating. Trust me. It's very frustrating. Alrighty. I'm going to pull off into this rest area up here. Going to take a little rest. One thing I'll be using at the rest area, mask. Have a great afternoon, everyone. Have a great day. We will do the COVID forecast later this week, like we normally would do. And yeah, just stay safe, everyone. Just continue masking. Stay safe. Do whatever you can to keep yourself protected from this brain-damaging, health-damaging, life-changing virus called COVID and, whatever other viruses out there. Thanks for watching. If you like my content, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel down below. I'll see you all again next time. Stay safe, everyone.